happy to have you. And thank you for finding time to sit down with me today. I mean, especially considering that you are, I think, jetting off in a few days to a new film and with a multi-Academy Award winning director. Oh my gosh. Now, I know you can't talk much, and we haven't even started our interview, but is there anything you could tell me, any inside scoop about the film, the director, anything?
I can't even say who it is. They're keeping it under wraps, but I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh.
I'm really excited.
I'm so thrilled for you. And I cannot wait until you can't tell me, and then I'll share it with you. So, all right. Well, before we get started talking all things Phil Collins, which you know we're going to do, I wanted to take a moment just to give a little history about you. So, okay, here we go. Our fantastic guest today is the beautiful singer and actress Connie Jackson. She is gorgeous. Connie was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, but she now calls Los Angeles home. Connie is the youngest of four, and she knew early on what she wanted to do with her life. In 1986, when she was in her mid-fives. She was
a toddler.
Her mid-20s, she packed up her car and moved across the country to pursue her dream to sing, act, and perform. Within months, literally, of settling in LA, she was hired by legendary choreographer Michael Peters, wow, for the Tony-nominated Broadway revival of the Michael Bennett production of Dreamgirls at the beautiful Ambassador Theater in LA. I'm thinking Connie probably did the right thing moving to LA. For over 10 seasons, she's been a recurring guest star on the hugely popular TV show NCIS. Her character Elaine is the main character, Gibbs, who is played by the gorgeous Mark Harmon. Elaine is his favorite go-to waitress, and it's great. I started watching NCIS now, Connie, because of you. I love it. Other television credits include How to Get Away with Murder, This Is Us, oh, fantastic show, Weeds, Pivoting, and 911, to name just a few of your acting credits. And you have done, I mean, like countless television commercials, right? I mean, just millions. Something now on my list to watch is Connie's the voice of Mariah Carey's Grandma Lucy in the animated movie All I Want for Christmas, so I've got to watch that. Although Connie's primary focus has shifted to acting, her career started with singing, we all know. Highlights, of course, include recording and touring with our very own Phil Collins. She also toured with Joe Walsh, who I adore. She's performed with Patty Austin, Faith Hill, Michael McDonald, and you guys might have heard of the next singer, Barbara Streisand. I mean, hello, oh my gosh, yikes, amazing. In the last year or so, Connie has actually released, which is so funny, all these years, you've released your first ever single called This Day, and it's a collaboration with jazz pop music composer Terry Woolman. Connie is an avid animal activist, a fact that actually made me just fall more in love with her already. And she volunteers her time taking photos of shelter animals to help them find rescue and loving homes. She encourages everyone to adopt, don't shop. Amen to that, Connie.
That's right.
It's my great pleasure to welcome the wonderful Connie Jackson to the Get Phil Voted In podcast. Welcome, Connie.
Hello, hello.
Thank you.
Is my volume okay?
Yeah, you sound great. If you break into song, I don't think anyone would complain.
My neighbors might.
I love it. So, I mean, there's so much to talk about. And before I get to my 1 million Phil Collins questions, because I always have 1 million Phil Collins questions, I want to talk about you a little bit. And I do want to start with your single, This Day. The whole story around the song is really inspiring. And I understand that you had a scare with cancer in 2018. And your first performance post-cancer actually was this song with Terry. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, the actual song This Day was on Terry's Christmas album a number of years ago. And it was sung by this amazing guy, you might know who he is, named Ellis Hall. If you don't know who Ellis Hall is, just Google him. Yeah. But Terry wrote the song, co-wrote the song with Lillowette Fox. She's in Vancouver. And the song's been around for a while. And I've sung it with Terry at a club called Spaghettini here in California on a couple of occasions in the past. And during the quarantine, it came up as a Facebook memory, that performance at Spaghettini. And I was like, the good old days, we can all hug and all, you start all of that stuff.
Totally.
And a friend of mine who just happens to be married to Terry, my friend Melanie Taylor, she typed in, you should record this song, sis. And I wrote in, yeah, that would be nice. And then Terry chimed in with, I'm in. So that's how that happened. We were serious about it, and Terry guided me through the whole process, because he's an extraordinary musician and just artist, and look him up too. He's got a new record coming out and all that stuff. So anyway, he produced it, and we tried to figure out how we were going to do it, since everybody was on lockdown. And we made it, it worked, because everybody recorded from home. It was all done remotely. The only time we stepped into a studio was when I did my vocal, and it was only Terry and I and the engineer. And the rest, everybody did it from home.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And you're cancer free today?
Oh yeah. Yes. Since 2018. That was an experience in itself, as what that, yeah. But I think it wasn't one of those things where I was ever afraid, because I had a great team at UCLA and all of this. And so, but the one thing that did happen that scared me to death was, I'm driving in the car and you're singing along like I usually do. My voice was shot. I mean, I couldn't control it, couldn't hit notes I was hearing that I was going for. And, almost doing the alfalfa. I don't know if anybody remembers our gang. I'm dating myself, but it was almost like, it was like I couldn't control the notes that were coming out. Wow. And that in itself, it was like, come on, you're not going to take this, are you? But, time over time, after all the treatment was over, it slowly started to come back, and I could control a little bit of it. I know, right? And Terry just happened to be doing a show at Spaghettini again. He was going to do another Christmas show. And he was like, this is up to you. And he was like, if you feel comfortable, I'd love to have you come and sing. And I was like, let me see where things are. But then I just jumped in the pool, Yeah, I was scared to death the whole time, because it was still shaky. And even through recording this day, that was I wasn't at my peak. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of like a little triumph thing to just, okay, it's coming back.
And is
it's fully back now?
That's fully back. That's amazing. That's so cool. And you and I actually had talked prior to our interview, and I was just going to make a quick comment. Part of what motivated me to start this campaign was I lost my husband to cancer. He had a late diagnosis of colon cancer last year, and he was a huge Phil Collins fan. And so I went on the Genesis tour, and I did all sorts of stuff kind of to honor him and to kind of from the grief and all that. But when I heard your song, it really resonated with me, because you learn when you're faced with cancer, either personally or with a loved one, that life isn't guaranteed. So that song spoke to me in that way. And I just was going to thank you so much for your beautiful song and for sharing your story. So thank you. Yeah, because that particular song, it resonates with many things, just to gratitude, live in gratitude. Yeah, and you hear music, and people might often ask a songwriter, what did you mean by that? Sometimes songwriters won't tell you, because they want you to experience it in however it's going to process for you. And so back to the song, we can't talk about it without talking about the incredible A-list musicians that you have on this record. I recently, with my podcast partner, Kathy, interviewed your friend, the legendary bass player, Leland Sklar.
Hi, guy!
Leland got to work on this song with you. How amazing was it to work with him again?
It's funny, because it was like, it's because we're all like a little family anymore. And all I did was call him and ask, and he said, yes. Tell me when and where. When, he was doing where was from his home. But it was just, it's such an honor when people say yes. you know, because I had never done anything like this before. And you just never know, whatever. But but I called him and my other buddy, Luis.
Louis Conti.
I know.
Another guy who is revered by other musicians. I mean, so amazingly talented. And you just call him.
Those are my buddies.
Yeah.
I actually just gigged with Luis about a month ago.
Kidding.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that I'm really bad at social media. I forget to post pictures and stuff, but I will eventually. But it was just great to see him do what he does best. I mean, I got video of that, so I'm going to post that too. And
That's
yeah.
so cool. Where did you guys perform?
At Vibrato. It's a club here where a lot of people do shows now. It's owned by Herb Alpert.
No
But it's a
kidding.
great little supper club. And you'll see a lot of great musicians and stuff there. It's really nice.
No, that sounds cool. How fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely can't wait to see that video. And I have to say that when you said that it's an honor when people say yes, when you said yes to me, like I was doing a dance for just days. I was so excited. So it's still I know how you
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So some of the other people on the record, we can't not talk about the woman who did the cello. And I don't know how to say her last name, Tina G.
Whoa.
Tina Guo. She's a massive talent and plays with Hans Zimmer. And I mean, and the cello parts in that song are beautiful, so complimentary to the song. She's cool.
And she played that it's a quartet, and she played the quartet, all those parts. So we call it, she refers to it as a guotet.
That's awesome. I'm going to use that. I actually have a question later in the interview that I might be able to work that in. And then of course we talked about Luis, and then on the record was Ron Walters Jr. on the Rhodes, and which is so cool. I love the sound of the Rhodes piano.
Oh, he's just a beautiful musician. Woo.
And John Robinson on drums.
JR, if you don't know who JR Robinson is, he's the go-to drummer. He played on, you name it. He and Lee are, it's easier to say the people that they haven't worked for as opposed to listing off who they have. And JR played on Thriller. He's that guy. He's the drummer guy on Rock With You. He's created those yeah, you've heard him on everything. Beautiful musician.
Oh, and we cannot not talk about Terry. Terry performed on the song.
He's one of those people who can do anything. He wrote the cello parts that Tina played. He's that guy.
Wow.
He's a conductor. He's just you name it, he can do it.
That's amazing. You are one special person to have attracted all of those people to you. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I'm lucky.
Well, all right. So we just talked about all these cool people. Besides the people in your life, who were some musical influences for you as you were growing up?
When I was growing up, I used to love to go in my parents' basement and just sing. I put on records and sing. And one of the main people was Minnie Riperton. I loved her.
Oh my gosh. What is that song she sings at the highest?
Loving You.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't do that like her. I could as a kid, but nope.
Yeah.
But she's just, her voice was always just so beautiful. And I always say that's where I got my pretty parts of my voice from. Her and Barbra Streisand and you got the strong parts from Aretha and Shaka Khan. But I also love to listen to the guys too. I love Gino Vanelli and all those kind of,
Did you perform because I think Daryl Sturmer started with Gino, if I'm not mistaken. Did you ever work with Gino Vanelli, or am I wrong about that?
I don't know about Daryl's thing, but somebody else that I know, there's somebody we know. I forgot if it's Lamont or somebody else that worked with Gino Vanelli.
I think it was Lamont.
I think it was Lamont.
And I think Daryl too. I'll have to double check.
Possibly. But I don't know for sure.
Not you though.
Nah.
So, okay, this was fun. I actually listened to a great interview you did with an old friend of yours on another podcast who worked when he was 11. He first met you and you were working at Marriott's Great America.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah.
I did.
His name was David Beaton. I think that's who it was. I don't remember. I think that's one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
That
was
was
a little kid that used to, back when I was a teenager, I worked at a theme park. And that's what he was saying. He would come to see the show. But I had done the theme park when I was in Chicago. That one, when I met him, was when they had a sister park in Santa Clara in Northern California. And we got another friend and I got sent out to that park for a summer. We were like, yeah, we go to California for a summer.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it was great training,
Well, yeah, and that show was called Evolution of Rock, I think that
that
you,
particular one. Yeah.
yeah, which
And
is cool.
it
And
was
you,
it was like a compilation of it was singing and dancing, and it spanned the era from the 20s to at that time 1980.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
No Phil Collins in that
Not in that one. I think I heard they did that show a couple years after, and I think there may have, who knows, I think there may have been one, but it would have been perfect.
I know. If it was beyond 1980, it would have had to have Phil.
It would have had to.
Had to.
Had to.
But it's you were talking a little bit with Dave in that interview about the relationships that you formed back then. And I mean, I look back on relationships I formed when I was in those teen years, and I still have them, and they're so special. And I often am like very nostalgic. I think it's a personality flaw because I get super emotional about things. But a lot of the people that you worked with back then are still in the entertainment industry, and you're I mean, it's amazing.
A lot of them are still in it. The fact that we're all still friends is pretty funny because we've now known each other since we were in our 20s, and I'm wow, 62. Said that. But we're all still friends. We all keep in touch. Most of them we'll probably end up living near each other at some point. But yeah, all of my friends I mostly made doing jobs.
Yeah. Well,
From whether it's from theater or,
well, you're thrown together for days at a time in intense situations. And so it makes sense that these people become your extended family,
Oh yeah.
Sure.
It's like a concentrated, when you all meet, it's like this concentrated little job, especially when you're working with when we were younger and doing the job at the theme park, you're together all day.
Yeah.
All day. We're doing like 5 shows a day, 5 or 6 shows a day. So you're in the summer, you're all crammed in together, and we're still friends.
So cool. That's so cool. That's great. No, that's cool. Well, I'm gonna ask you about, you moved to LA to start your career, and bam, like you don't start slow. You got hired to be in the Broadway revival of Dreamgirls by Michael Peter. But I think, Michael Peters hired you. How did that happen? Tell me about having success like that so quickly, and what was that like?
Well, it's funny because that was only a few months after I had moved to LA. There's this place, this church in Hollywood where all the auditions used to happen, because they had the space, they had the rehearsal halls, and so every big audition was at this place. And the show was in town playing at the Pantages, and while they were in town, they were having auditions for future replacements it was a touring company at the time, but they were going to end on Broadway. They were going to end the run on Broadway, and so I went to the audition here and ended up getting a call back while they were still, and so the callback was at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm not sure who can sing at 7 in the morning, but it was at like 7 in the morning in the theater on the big stage. Yeah. And yeah, it was crazy, but I was told that the next girl opening in the show is yours. And I waited another 8 months before. So it wasn't immediate, but they said the next female role is yours, and sure enough, it happened like that following fall or whatever, but it was awesome.
Oh, I can't imagine. Yeah.
That's one of those shows I wish they were doing what they do now, like they did with Hamilton. Yeah. I wish they had recorded those, and there's nothing like it. And that was the original production. I mean, the original Michael Bennett staging of things. And so I feel like that, I wish that had been, saved for posterity's sake.
They never recorded it ever for like a DVD or anything?
Not for that. No, not that. No.
Ugh.
There's like little bootlegs that, like I have a copy of a show that a version of it I did in another version I did of it. But that was, from this far away, and everybody's this big.
It's so funny. That's so funny. Like even like a couple of years ago, I saw Phil on the Not Dead Yet tour in 2019. I think my show was in Phoenix. It was right before the end of the tour, and the video I have of that is so horrible because technology, even since then, has gotten so much better. So back in 1989, like the video is just terrible,
yeah, tracking all of that stuff. Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, I mean, okay, so talking about success, you've been 10 years now with the NCIS TV show, which is a huge show. You're this great recurring character, which I literally went on Vimeo and watched all of, like, as many as I could find of you, and I was like, oh my God, she's so good. What's that? How is that? I mean, getting to know people like Mark Harmon, who are so cool, and all the other wonderful cast members. I mean, is it just also another extended family for you? And
well, it's funny because it's like when you go back, it's just kind of like you see everybody, because most of my stuff used to be with Mark. And so I would see people at the table read, and that would be it. And then, on set, but as it went on, I got to do stuff with the other agents and stuff. But it's just really sweet, it's not, because I only go in once in a while, that span of 10 years, it's like once a year, so it's not like I'm there all the time, like a cast regular or anything like that. But they were always very welcoming whenever I went. And, Mark is such a gentleman, and everybody's just so sweet. Yeah.
Is it ongoing? Are they continuing to film the show? Or?
Oh yeah, the show, they got another 20, they got a 20th season. They just started the new season. And so, but I don't know if I'm where I am in that, it's been a long time. And I have a feeling since Mark is gone, I don't know if you're going to see Elaine, but.
Right. Do people recognize you as Elaine ever? Are you out and about?
I think probably because my hair is always different.
Yeah.
But no, that's never happened. Because I think, because like I said, there's a big gap in between my appearances and stuff. So
yeah,
once in a while, who knows? But
if I ever run into you, I'm going to be like, can I have your autograph, Elaine?
For you, Tracy.
Oh, you're so sweet. Oh my gosh. So we know you're doing this super exciting film project coming up. And again, whenever you're able to share, I want to share all of our audience and the members and all of that. So beyond that project, is there anything else you're able to share with us that you're working on or wanting to do?
Beyond that, that's the next thing down the pipe. And then right now I'm concentrated on getting our house ready to sell. So that's all encompassing. But yeah. I do eventually want to do another, instead of just a single, I would love to do like even just a little album. But we'll see. That's far, far in a land far away.
Oh, but that's exciting. You're putting it out there.
Yeah.
And it means the energy lives out there and that it's more likely to be, right?
And I have figured out what I want to do. So it's kind of like that.
Well, I can't wait for that because we want more of your singing. Your acting is great, but I'm going to speak on behalf of the Phil Collins audience. That's and
I'll never give up singing.
Good. So that, of course, segues perfectly into let's talk all things Phil Collins, because that's why we're here.
Yes.
So your first ever tour was with Phil, which again, way to start out slow, Connie. Just start with the small project. Oh my gosh. And I think the 2004 tour was your first tour ever, your first tour with Phil, and I think might have been his biggest tour in terms of the production. So amazing. How did you get hired to do that job? Did you know somebody? Like, tell me everything. I must know it all.
I knew somebody, but I didn't, but it was so funny because Amy Keys is the reason she recommended me for the gig. Because when I first got to know Amy, they were going out and they would be gone for like a year at a time. And that's a long time to be gone. And so I guess Phil had decided that he wanted to add some more singers.
Yeah.
And Amy, let me know that he's added some more singers. Can I throw your name in the hat? And I was like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I'm sorry, what?
You audition, Connie? Did you have to go through a formal process?
You put like your little package together, a little vocal thing, and sent it to her, and she forwarded it on.
Yeah.
And I was hired in 2 emails.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? Yeah.
That is so
Yeah.
cool. So, okay. So you get the news. Do you get it from Amy then? She tells you, hey.
No, Tony Smith.
Oh.
All of a sudden you get the note from Tony Smith saying, hey, we'd like to blah, blah, blah. And
wow.
And I'd like to blah, blah, blah.
So, okay, now you're hired. Tell me about your first rehearsal. What was that like? Where did you have to go? Were you nervous?
Well, it's all very interesting because it's a well-oiled machine. When the singers walk into that rehearsal, we're ready, because once they hired the 6 people, because he used to only have 2 people, Amy and Arnold, but then there were 6 of us. So the ones who had done it before, we met before leaving town, and they taught us the backups, because we'd all gotten all the tapes and stuff, but as far as like knowing what to do in concert, the guys that had been doing it before, we got together with them, and by the time we got to rehearsal, we knew what we're doing already. So the songs start, and you know where to go, and you know what to say, and that that's just something you do. You want to look good for the boss.
Absolutely. It's kind of funny. I interviewed our mutual friend Lamont somewhat recently. He is a fabulous human being. I just love him. He's so wonderful. And of course, he was on the tour with you, and he shared a really interesting story about his first rehearsal. And he said, he didn't mention what song it was, but about halfway into a song, Phil came and stood right in front of his microphone, just right in front of him, and just stood there. And, Lamont finished singing, and then Phil walked away, and the next day, same song, same situation. Phil came and stood right, and the whole song this time. And at the end of the song, Phil said, and I'm going to read it because I want to make sure. He said to Lamont, "Can you be available every time I sing?" Which I almost started crying when he told the story, because what an incredible compliment for someone of Phil's talent and all of that to say. But also to put him on the spot for 2 days is pretty stressful. I feel like he was, when he was saying the story, I think it might have been Amy that was next to him, and he was, what do I do? And she's like, just chill. If he didn't say anything to you, it's fine, But,
exactly.
Did anything like that happen for you? Did Phil do anything weird, or were you ever feeling like, oh my gosh,
Never. It's just because people used to ask me all the time, oh, his hearing's bad. Can he hear? And I'm like, he can hear a gnat fart. He knows what his music is supposed to sound like. He knows what he's hearing. He knows when it's right. He knows when it's not right.
Oh yeah.
And, but what I love about him is that he's appreciative. He appreciates, for example, when we got ready to do the Going Back tour, I forgot who was not able to do it. But anyway, we're going to need a guy. And so I recommended Teron Brooks, who ended up doing the Going Back tour. Beautiful singer, just the perfect energy or whatever. So he got the gig when I referred him. And I remember we were in the studio in Switzerland, and each one of us were doing our warm-ups, not warm-ups, sound check. They would sound check us. And so Tehran is singing his sound check. Now, mind you, this guy has just an angelic voice. So he's doing his sound check. Phil usually was standing in front of us on the floor, and he's looking up at Tehran while he's doing his sound check. And this is all Phil is doing. He's just looking at Tehran, and then he just goes, and then he looks over at me and he goes, and I was like,
oh, that's great.
because he was just happy with the person. He was like, good call. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's fun to watch that happen.
at first you were wondering if the look on his face was like, this is
Oh,
not.
no, I knew exactly what it was.
You knew.
I knew exactly what it was, because that's what he was doing to Lamont, I'm sure, because he was looking at Tehran and just going, and I was like,
Amazing. You know what's super funny is when I was interviewing Brad Cole, someone else who you worked with, Brad is, I think he is like, I mean, all of you that I've met are extraordinary people, and it really it speaks volumes.
well,
You know,
thank you.
it does. But Brad was saying that I think it was Daryl who recommended Brad initially, if I'm not mistaken, from the story. And he said that Brad said he was on probation for like a year. You know, he felt like Cole was watching a year. But then Daryl was also held responsible for whatever Brad was doing. You know, and I was like, ooh, when you were just telling that story, I was like, ooh, if Tehran hadn't have been good, like Connie would have been like on the outs, you know.
But that's why you know who you're bringing in there, because when that person walks in, that might as well be you walking in there. So yeah.
No, that's a great story. I cannot say that move on without saying that Lamont and I were visiting just a few days ago, and you know, we were talking about you, and you know, we you and I talked about the ding dong ditch, and we kind of put that. So he didn't have any fun ding dong ditch stories, but he did tell me that the people that he loves, he'll come up with nicknames for. Fine, right?
Conatha. He calls me Conatha. He gave me that one. Hey, Conatha.
Oh my God, that's so great. And so
To this day, Lynn Fidmont calls me that too. He does too. Yeah. He was saying Conatha.
He also shared kind of a really cute story about you, and you guys were in a hotel bar after a show in Germany. I don't know if you remember, but he said that a fan walked up to you guys and they were like, hey, do you know where Amy is? Where's Amy? And you guys are like, she's right over there. You can go walk up to her, say hello. And the person's like, oh, no, I can't. She's a goddess.
Yes.
Now, to this day, Lamont calls her goddess, right? Is that like the best story?
We all do. Yeah. I'll send her text. Hey, goddess.
To this day. That's funny. I wonder, did that fan ever go up to her and meet her?
I don't think so. We just sat there and no, they didn't. No, they were that.
Oh my God, that is so funny. I mean, she really is special. I love watching her because she and Phil would have so much fun on stage. On the 2004 tour, one of the girls who's in one of the fan groups, she's like, if we ever get Amy on your interview, you have to ask her when Phil smacked her butt. And I said, I am not asking Amy about Phil smacking butt, but I will ask Connie. No. No, I mean, they had so much fun, and I think they knew each other for so long that when
they've been singing together a long time.
Oh, they had, and Arnold too. Oh my God, he is a hoot. I mean, with unbuttoning the shirt and the hips, and oh my God, he's the best. He's love Arnold. He's a crazy man, but in a good way, you know.
Oh yeah,
funny and just really just great.
Exactly.
So we are talking about all those guys, and I rewatched the 2004 documentary. There's a little short documentary about the tour, and they show this amazing vocal rehearsal, and Phil's talking about it, and then they show a clip in the documentary. You guys are all sitting in a circle singing True Colors. Do you remember that day?
Oh yeah.
How was
I have every time we would have Phil loved to have vocal rehearsals, and because it helps. I mean, he cares about every aspect of it, and we want to sing the right stuff, and it helps when you can sit without the lights and all this other stuff and just sit. We would sit with usually Daryl and Lee just in a circle with the two of them just playing and get the vocals where we need them. And I have all of those audio because I would have my little recorder. So I have all of that stuff. All of it.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so jealous. I want to hear. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Once you sell your house and move to the desert, which is where I am, we'll have to have a pool party.
I know, right?
Oh, that's so cool. So let's talk a little bit more about your experience on that tour. I mean, it was really, 2 years. It spanned 2 years, 77 dates. I'm sure.
Wow, that many.
Yeah, there were
Wow.
77 dates on that tour, which is crazy. I can't even imagine, even if you're Leland and you're used to touring, or Daryl has been doing it with Genesis and 78. The length of Phil's tours are crazy. How did you prepare? Did you have any idea what you're getting into as far as,
Well, we were only out for 3 months each time.
right?
So that, I knew I was going to be gone for that 3 months each time. But you're ready. It's a lot. You do the thing of, okay, I'm going to be gone. What do I need? So you think of all your stuff. But that's the only time that usually when I travel, just me traveling, I can travel with a carry-on. But this was different where I had the big suitcase, I had two big suitcases, which, luckily I never had to schlep myself. So, it's not like you get your bags and you have to carry them everywhere. Your bags are gone. And once you're on tour, you don't touch your bags except to sit them in the hallway for somebody to pick up. So it's not like, we're not like, it's not like traveling regularly.
Right.
But being gone, I have to say at the end, in that last 2 weeks, you start to kind of want your own bed.
Yeah.
And you want to see the dogs or the cat or whoever, Oh yeah. And the husband.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that.
Pesky
But,
husband.
but it's that thing of, it's such a great time. And, it's like one of those bucket list things that you ever wanted to do. When you go to a concert, when I was a kid, when you go to a concert and you're, not in the expensive seats, you're in the cheap seats, and you see the little ants that are by the stage, and you always dreamed of being one of those little ants. Like, I wonder what they do. And then you're one of the ants.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
I always wanted to be the tour manager, either the Tony Smith with the manager or the Steve Jones. I always wanted to be that person, like in charge of the backstage passes.
A lot comes along with that job. Woo! You could not pay me enough to do that job.
No, Steve works so hard.
They are.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
They're amazing. And all the BS they have to put up with, and all the fans and all the venues and just everything. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, no.
Now you guys on tour, I know there's a wardrobe lady, and you guys would have to wear, I think, specific wardrobe, to coordinate.
We would bring our own clothes. We'd bring our own clothes. And then they would go through our stuff and throw stuff together. Like if somebody had something. Yeah.
Oh, so you got to wear your own clothes. It's just that he would say,
okay. She would pull them, and like if somebody had something red, then that would be a night that there would be something else, whatever. And some nights it didn't. But mostly had black, but we had like other accents of color, that you would just pull stuff out of the wardrobe cases and okay. Connie's wearing it tonight, so-and-so's wearing that.
Oh, that's neat. So and they will take care of it for you, and they launder it and all that. Did you guys have hair and makeup or no?
No, we did that ourselves.
Yeah. It helps when you're naturally gorgeous. That's cool. That's neat. So any other perks of being on tour? I heard you say you got to fly in the private jet, so you must tell me all about that. How awesome is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm like, we can't complain, because it's like, you don't have to go through the regular part of the airport, because this is what I love about this man. You're taken care of, completely taken care of. And it's the safest I've ever felt traveling with it. You're not on your own. But we traveled, we stayed where he stayed, we traveled on the jet with him. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
That's
I'll never
amazing.
forget, Gerald Albright said to me when he found out that it was my first time going on a tour, that was my first tour. He goes, Phil's the best way to start and the worst way, because everybody else pales in comparison.
Right. It's like, yeah, I like to go cruising, and I got to go in a suite recently, real fancy. And I'm like, yeah, I'll never not go in that suite again. So it's sort of like, you've done the Phil Collins tour, like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
who else can I tour with? Okay, Celine Dion. Okay,
It's like bucket list guy.
okay, so obviously Phil is Phil. So if you're in Germany, maybe I don't know, some dignitary comes, or some star. When you're in the US, I'm sure lots of, or England, like Eric Clapton might just show up, My old friend Eric Clapton. Did you ever get a chance to meet any of those people in any circumstances?
Well, like in the green rooms, like sometimes before the show, there'd be back when people could come backstage.
Right.
I think a lot of that is kind of stopped now with, yeah. The one that I really remember as being really funny was, I don't remember where we were, but Tony Curtis.
No
Of
kidding.
all people, Tony Curtis was backstage, and he was just a character. He was that old school, flirting with everybody and just funny, but yeah, we didn't get, it depended on where he was. Like we only would see those people if they came to the green room before or after the show. But other people that he would see, we didn't know about that.
The Eric Claptons of the world who actually know him, probably. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like it would, like, say for instance, we would have dinner before the show or whatever. It was always fun when we did the shows that started with Mike and the Mechanics. Yes. Because you get to see them, and and people would come and visit. But it was just really nice, because it's just a real fun, family atmosphere backstage. It's, rock and roll is not, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's like toddlers and
There's
toddlers and things.
Yeah, totally. There's a really cute story, I think, that Phil tells about Mike Rutherford, and it's so cute. They're so cute and sweet. Mike's favorite part of a hotel is if they had clean sheets and cocoa or something. And that was what Mike liked. And here you think, oh, these mad crazy rock stars in the 70s, It was cute.
Clean sheets and cocoa.
Yeah, it was a cute little story. So on tour, there are times that you guys had to do back-to-back shows because you had so many shows jammed in. How hard is that? I mean, do you get super tired? Does your voice get tired? I mean,
the person it's hardest on that kind of stuff would be hardest on is Phil.
Yeah.
Because that is no joke, being the person in front. A lot goes with that. And I wouldn't trade it for no. When you see it, because people think, oh, it's so great. Isn't this, there's a lot on those shoulders. He gets blamed for everything, or or whatever, but it's like, there's a lot on those shoulders. And there's times where you're just like, man, I'm glad my name's not on the door. I mean, just the pressure of what you have to come up with, and how, yeah.
There's I've heard Tony Smith be interviewed, and he says, sometimes he felt like Phil enjoyed coming back to be on a Genesis tour because the pressure of being Phil Collins is off, because it's all on his back when he's doing a solo tour. And I actually, I've been asking this question to all of my interview subjects, and I don't always think that I get my point across. There was a video that I think it was George Shelby shot from the stage, and I think it was in Paris during Against All Odds, and the entire crowd, and the Parisian audiences adore Phil, and he films a lot of his DVDs have been filmed there because he knows how much they love him. I think the whole crowd was singing louder than Phil during Against All Odds, which is insane to begin with. And they all had their torches, and I actually watched the video and I cried. It was so moving, that kind of. But I also think that being Phil Collins for 50 years and having that kind of not only pressure but adulation and energy focus, you have 60,000 people focusing their energy on you. It's amazing, and but it's also seems to me like it would be a burden. And
Intense.
So I resonate with you when you said you wouldn't want to do it for the world. And I just can't imagine having the catbird seat that you had watching it.
Yeah.
And go, and probably at the end of some shows just being exhausted, because of it all.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
But also too, he's not in that place that he can go out and party after a show either.
Right.
So people used to ask all the time, "Oh, you guys, does Phil come out?" No, I wouldn't. I couldn't.
Possibly, no.
No, there's no way.
Well, for a number of reasons too, I think. One, because of the vocal stuff, but two, I don't think he could go anywhere without being just, constant. Yeah. Constant. And you take people like I had mentioned Steve Jones earlier, poor Steve has to be the person that's keeping all those people away. And after 40
he's real good at it though.
He is. And
thank goodness.
He is really good at it. And I think after a while that would get really old, So, I mean, those are the parts of touring that I find fascinating that, like I said, I wanted to do that job. And so I kind of get it, I get it. But I just am very envious that you got to see it from that point of view and experience it.
I feel really, that's one of the top gigs of my life because, it's one of those things where you dream about that kind of stuff of, oh, look at that. They're on that stage. And, I went to see the Jackson 5 when I was a kid and I would never have dreamt that I would be able to be on a stage with an artist or whatever, with a bunch of screaming people in front of you, and you just and the extent of fame that Phil has, when you're playing places where there's 70,000 people here.
I know,
and it's pretty, it's beautiful, and like you said, there are those moments where you get teary, and it's because it's intense, and then you see all these people with the light. Well, when they were still using lighters. You all of a sudden something will hit you as being really beautiful. And I'll never forget, we were in Berlin and I forget what it's called, that theater, but it's like you're at the bottom of a cereal bowl, the way it's shaped. And at one point when he was singing Against All Odds or something, yes, I think it was Against All Odds, all of a sudden all the lighters, it looked like a little village that was all around, because the stage, we were looking up at people in seating. We're at the bottom of the cereal bowl, but to see all these lighters and you just can't help but tear up. It's
intense.
Yeah.
It's so special. Like those are moments you'll never forget.
Never.
No, that's that's really, and I'm glad I've got my point across. I keep asking that question. It's the men I ask. They don't understand.
They get teary too. They're just not admitting it.
They do. I know. Well, I was going to ask, my next question that was prepared was, what's Phil like on tour? Give us the inside scoop. But, have you said, is there anything else you could tell us that we haven't already talked about? He's the boss.
But it's not like that. But it's really weird. He appreciates people that are doing the gig, and, he doesn't have to worry about, that's one less thing for him to worry about. But the thing that I always say that I wish people knew was how much he cares about giving the fans, playing the music that the fans like and stuff. He really takes that seriously, and he really puts those shows together solely with the fans in mind. Like there's certain, especially when we in 05, when we did all those different places, some that he had never been to before.
Yes.
And there was, we did a lot of song switching because that song wasn't a hit here. They really loved this one here. This one song, you know, it's that stuff that he knows all of that stuff and cares about it.
Yeah.
So it's, I wish people just knew how much he really cares about the fans, want, you know, giving them what they want.
Well, that's really, really special. And without getting too overly emotional about it, I feel like as an artist, he has given his whole life to his fans. I think sometimes to the exclusion of some of his relationships, his personal relationships in life. And that's not an area that I ever discuss because I don't know him. It's not for me to talk about, but he has talked about it. And I think I don't think that often people realize how much someone like him would sacrifice for their fans and how amazing. And so that's another reason that I feel so motivated to keep doing this, you know. Anyway, no, it's it's special. Okay, well, we just said how wonderful he is. Oh, I know, I was going to say Leland talked about what you just said. One of the favorite things that Leland had to say about Phil was that he wanted the first gig on a tour to be as great as the 5th gig, the 10th gig, the 30th. And Leland, who has played with everybody, and he didn't mention anybody specifically, said that is not always the case. In fact, generally, it's not the case. Usually bands are going to work out their stuff in the first couple gigs, you know, and that was not the case with Phil because he wanted those fans to have the experience from the get-go.
That's right.
Such a tremendous compliment, right?
Yeah.
That speaks to what you said.
Yeah. I mean, because the first day of rehearsal, we're on the stage. The built stage, the actual stage is put together somewhere where we rehearse. And so you're on that stage from day one. So by the time you go on tour, it's like, oh, okay, we know where we're going.
Yeah.
Here it is. Yeah.
Yes. Did you ever get like over it? Were you ever doing a show going, oh my God? Or was it always exciting? Do you know, because you're doing it.
Oh my God. There's no way to be over it.
No, good.
Because all the crowds are different and it's just, it's a kick. You're doing what you love to do. You know, it's a nice club to be in, you know, to get to fly around the world for free and sing music that you've listened to your entire life with the real guy. It's not a cover band.
Oh my God, right? You're making me so excited. I'm so like, oh
not a cover band. And all of a sudden you hear the song start and you're like, oh, it's the guy singing it.
It's so great. I love it. Oh my God. All right. So we cannot let Phil get away unscathed. We've just we propped him up and he's so great. We have to ask, okay, any strange or annoying habits that you can talk about on tour? Because I have one that someone was willing to tell me. Should I tell you? I'll tell you.
What was that?
One of the guys, and I can't remember actually which one it was, said that he's constantly with drumsticks, constantly drumming on everything, you know, all the time. And even though he's like a legendary drummer, like that could be annoying after a while, you know, constantly drumming. So that was a fun little inside scoop I got.
Oh, that's so funny. Because the only time that I ever saw him with drumsticks in his hands was when on the farewell tour, right when we were walking to, you know, like when we come in and get ready to do like circle and whatever. But that wasn't something that I saw a lot. So but you know, like, he would have them in his hands when he was walking, when we'd be walking to the stage.
Right, because that show opened with him doing that killer drum solo, which was so awesome. That was so cool. Yeah. So maybe it was like, you know,
it might have been like a time when he was heavily playing drums.
Right. Maybe it was, you know, old time guys.
That's funny.
Oh God, that's great. So we had talked a little bit earlier about the fact that there were 6 singers on this tour. Did you ever find out why did Phil have so many? Was he going for a certain sound? Like it was just because he had never had 6 before, you know?
I don't know, but I was just glad to be one of them, be added. You might maybe just wanted, you know, something bigger. Who knows?
Well, yeah, it was a huge cast. I mean, he had the horns, you know, Harry and all those.
Yes, the guys. I love those guys.
Such good. I hope to have a chance to talk to Harry one day soon.
Oh.
So going back to Amy, she got to sing Separate Lives duet, Phil. And I think, who was the other singer? Was it Lynn who actually got recorded?
Bridget
Bridget. Yeah, Bridget.
Bryant.
Yeah, Bridget got to do it. So, but on your tour, did you ever have to prepare that role on the odd chance that Amy might have gotten sick or something? No, no,
There were no understudies.
no.
But I'm sure though too, on those gigs, if somebody's always going to be ready to pick up the torch if something happens, but that was never a thing. That was, if somebody came to you and said, hey, I would be like, okay, but that wasn't, no.
Could you have done it if Amy was like, I can't sing tonight, you have to do it? Could you have done it?
Oh, I think all of us, because we were paying attention, could have, but that was never I was never ready. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, that just wasn't something that you were thought about.
Right.
Because they could always switch out a song or do whatever, it's just like when Arnold was gone, instead of it being the three of them, then it was just Phil and Amy
doing Easy Lover.
No, doing Separate Lives. When Arnold was hurt, was at the beginning.
Yeah.
When Arnold got hurt at the beginning, and he, then it was just Amy and Phil that sang it. It's not like you plug somebody else into Separate Lives.
Great. I recall now, because the DVD is Amy and Phil only.
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah. Arnold does.
That's because Arnold was hurt.
In the third verse or whatever, Arnold comes in and does I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. And they do Easy Lover too. And I was going to ask you, did you ever get a chance to do that part?
Oh, no. Everybody's on their A game. You got, these are people who are ready to do that gig if they have to crawl from under a bridge to do it. It's like everybody's on their thing. So it's not like anybody would ever have to, something would have had to have happened on stage for somebody to miss something. But no, these are all people that are ready to hit it.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so moving on to dogs. I was like, I've got prepared questions. I have 3 rescues, little Jack Russells I showed you earlier. Before we they're just my angels, and I know you love dogs, and thank you for all the work you do to help them.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to know Jack Collins? Speaking of dogs, was he on tour? I know he was on tour with you guys for a while.
He would make an appearance. We would see him once in a while. He hated going. You could tell that he's like, get this song over with.
Because he came out on stage, right? A couple times.
Across for was it Wear My Hat or what was it?
Yeah.
And so he would, after a while, he would trot across that stage so fast, like, okay, I'm out. Don't do this anymore.
He was
because it's loud up there. I can imagine for the dog, it's like he's like, what's going on? I was asleep.
And all the people and the whole, but he's so cute. He makes his little appearance in that documentary I told you about. Phil's like all irreverent too. He's like, I'm not taking the dog out and I'm not putting it, and I'm like, I wonder who did that. Did they have like a dog handler,
Oh, he just had to go from one side to the other. And so I was waiting for him.
Yeah. It was so fun. He was so cute. So we talked a little bit about duets earlier, Phil and Amy and so forth. If you had a chance to duet with anybody, living, dead, both, who's a duet kind of fantasy for you?
Oh man.
One
that stands out is the rock girl in me always wanted to do a little something with Steven Tyler. The rock side of me.
Yeah, girl.
I just love the way that he sings and all that. But like, wow, there's a lot of people. He stands out as far as like the screamy, we could just have a scream fest together. But I loved people like Donny Hathaway, and because when he used to do those duets with Roberta Flack, I loved all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great choice. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That voice. Ooh,
Beautiful.
I would love to have sung with him.
That's such, I know it's a hard question because it's like, everybody,
I
there's so,
know. Can I pick everybody? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Wow.
There
How
are
was
certain ones, yeah.
did you sing with Barbara Streisand in live shows or did
I
you?
only did one thing with her, with Amy. We did every year for the Grammys, they also have the Person of the Year that same weekend. And so they were honoring her that weekend. And we got to sing with her. We were singing with her at the Grammys.
Oh,
She
wow.
was singing Evergreen at the Grammys.
Oh my God. Wow.
And so we were going to do that. But then uh after the rehearsal, okay, for the rehearsal for the Grammys, the whole orchestra's there, blah, blah, blah. And Amy and I were up at the top near the violins because we were just doing those beautiful oohs and stuff in Evergreen. And she's that icon that, people are like, oh my God, did you get to meet her? I was like, well, no, because we were up there. She, Amy got to sing with her later on her tour. But at that point, she just came in to, run her song and see what the dress looked like. She had on her full dress that she was going to wear on the Grammys the next night.
Well,
And then after that, because she was going to sing at the Person of the Year award, which is for Music Cares, it benefits Music Cares. Like a bunch of artists will gather and it's a benefit. They sing her songs like it's a whole show. She sits there being honored, and then at the end, she did like maybe 5 or 6 songs. And it wasn't sure if she was gonna want us to do it there or not. But after the Grammy rehearsal, she wanted us to sing with her at the Music Cares event. And that was crazy because after she's been in this gorgeous gown for the rehearsal for the Grammys, then we go over to the convention center to rehearse for the Music Cares thing. And she's in her sweats, yoga pants, and glasses. And, then she starts running through her stuff, and you're like 5 feet from her. Wow. And, the first song she started with was Evergreen. You hear I'm sorry, not Evergreen. Memories like the corners of my mind, the way we were.
Yeah.
That intro started, and I looked at Amy and I was like, I'm about to start crying. And I could feel the well. But yeah, so yeah, that was awesome. And it was my birthday.
Oh my gosh, that is so neat. I love that. The show, I didn't see that show. I don't know if they broadcast the Barbara Streisand one, but I saw the Barry Gibb one that they did. That's like that a couple years ago, and and it's so cool, and it's sort of like Kennedy Honors. They kind of do the same sort of thing where Led Zeppelin dudes are sitting there, and the Wilson sisters are performing for them.
Oh my God, I watched that a million times.
Unbelievable, like so amazing. But it's got to be so weird performing in their music, and I mean any band. I happen to choose Zeppelin, but yeah.
It's funny because when you were talking about rehearsals and singing that, doing Phil's music, I do remember in rehearsals that first day, we had played a couple other songs, had already run through some other things, but then they started the intro to Another Day in Paradise. Dun, 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 Gerald. And then it goes into the dun, 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 dun. The minute it did that, I was like, oh, I can't cry right here. All of a sudden it was like that, because I love that song. This is somebody whose music I've listened to, not somebody who, how's that song go again? He's got a cat. I mean,
yeah.
And all of a sudden it just hit me that this is with the real person. And then you hear him start singing and you're like, that's the real guy. And he sounds just like he does on the record. And it's not a record. And that's the part that goes in your head and you're just like, okay, he's like right there.
And it sounds like that. I have a question later that we're going to get to where we talk a little bit more about that. And it is crazy. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's amazing. The last thing that's about this tour, then we're going to switch gears a little bit and go into going back. But I always ask all my guests, and is there anything you can remember that was just, I always want to know, crazy, weird, funny, fan interaction, something that happened in the audience, or, you know, anything that you could share fun like that?
I don't know. I think the main things that we used to not take note of, that would get your attention were like signs or whatever. And it wasn't anything ever really weird. The ones that would get you is somebody that has a sign that says "We came all the way from," and it's somewhere you're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and yeah, we came all the way from Antarctica. I mean, what?
You're just
It's that, you know, it's that kind of stuff, and you're like, that was not an easy trip.
right. Yeah.
Or somebody that has the number on the sign that says how many times they've seen him,
Yes.
and it's into the massive double digits,
Yeah.
and you just kind of go, wow.
Yeah.
You know, but I never really saw anything just crazy, or, you know.
Yeah.
Because the people that would come to the show, they were into the music, they were into him. And especially the shows in Europe, those always impressed me, because I was like, you know, the doors open a couple hours before, and by the time we come out to do the show, these people have been standing, especially in the middle of the ones in the standing room. How do they do that?
I know, that's a young person's game right there. I tell you what, I don't do that anymore. When they say
I can't.
standing room only seats, I was gonna go to see Genesis, I think it was Amsterdam, and it was standing room only, and I was like, oh no.
Nope.
That's a young girl's game.
I'm not that girl. But I was always impressed, because they still were ready to party by the time we came out there a few hours later.
Yeah, the European audiences are different too. They don't talk as much during the shows as we Americans, you know, and it's a whole different, it's a whole different thing. Well, changing gears to the Going Back tour, a very different tour, obviously. You know, but before you went on the tour, you got to do something so special, and I didn't know this until you told me about it, and that you and Lynn Fidmont got to record with Phil on the album. You did. What did you tell me? 15 songs in
2 days.
That's insane. So tell me about that. First of all, how did that happen? You know, what was the circumstance that Phil asked you guys to do it? And then what, did you have to sleep over in the studio? I mean, how do you do that? And tell me more.
That came about, this was the year before, because the Going Back tour was 2010. So in 2009, I was at a commercial audition, back when we could still go to a live audition. And I always turn my phone off, whatever, before when I go in the room to do the actual audition. And then so as I was coming out, I was about to turn my phone back on, and I saw it ringing, and I was like, that's a number from across the pond, but I don't know who that is. So I answered it, and it was Steve.
Yeah.
And we're shooting the breeze, and he's like, yeah, Phil wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay, hey. You know, because it had been a while. It had been a minute, because I think the last thing we had all done together was the end of the farewell tour. And so I was like, oh, hey, you know, I'm like wondering what's going on. Is somebody going on tour?
Well, that's how you doing.
And so he said, I'm getting ready to do this record and blah, blah, blah. And I'd like you and Lynn to come and, you know, do whatever. And we did. And I was excited. It's always nice to get that kind of a phone call.
Heck yeah. I mean, wow. But I mean, doing so many songs, how was it? Was it intense in the studio and very focused?
Phil's not I think people think Phil's more intense than he is.
Yeah.
When you're working, he wants it right, but he's not like the taskmaster. He knows that he knows who he's calling, so he knows that they're going to do. So we had a blast. You know, and it was always a nice treat to go to Switzerland for a couple of days. So, you know, and because it was just us and the engineer, and it was just us. And, like, and it's easy because we're just doing the oohs and ahs and all that kind of stuff. He had already done the lead vocal stuff, but we were just adding in all the, the dressing.
All the good stuff. So Phil worked on a project. So this is the question I had mentioned earlier that had to do with when we talked about the 4 cello parts, the quad go, what?
Wait, a quad go.
Is that what we said? Quad go, right?
Quotet.
Yeah. So I watched this documentary. Phil did a project with George Martin, the super famous producer of the Beatles. He asked, George Martin wanted Phil to do the Beatles medley, Golden Slumbers, Carry That Way at the end, And during this documentary I was watching, Phil and George talk about the fact that Phil recorded all the harmonies for that song. So John, Paul, George, and I think actually Ringo in this particular song sang the same line, right? At least 3. They said 4 in the documentary, but at least 3, right? So George would say, "Okay, Phil, I want you to do it in this key that George sang it in, and then let's find now that Ringo sang it in." First of all, Phil loves the Beatles, is my understanding from hearing him talk, right? And then to be able to, how does this? I'm not a singer. How do you do that? How can you sing 4 different lines of the same thing and know, okay, I'm going to sing now what I guess it's in G flat or whatever, but how do you do that? That's crazy.
Well, it's just taking the line. It's just learning that part. You know what I mean? Because you're doing them separately. It's just like when you double vocals in a session or whatever, and you sing your part, la la la, and then it's like, okay, take it up and then sing that harmony part. But they're just recording them all at separately.
So are you hearing?
That's a commonplace thing to do.
So are you hearing it in your headphone? So then I know that I'm singing correctly against.
Well, there's music in your headphones. If he was singing along to, if somebody had already recorded the track, then it's like, okay, sing up to whatever.
So you know what I mean? So singing 4 of the same, so doing 4 harmonies yourself in one song is not weird. All right.
Because you're going to sing that first pass, like you'll sing the whole thing, like if Paul does his line, and whoever's doing the harmony, then you sing that whole thing through. And then when you play them together, when they, on separate tracks, of course, and when you play them together, then sounds like
that line, and it's just all 4 voices. But yeah, that's amazing. I just thought it was so cool, and I didn't know if you guys did anything like that then when you were doing the going back stuff. Were there ever times where you had to yeah, and that's okay. See, I told you I'm a singer. I don't know.
It was cool because Lynn and I were saying, and then we'd add like there were a couple songs where Phil would come in and add another harmony part. Yeah.
Is that something that's natural to you as a singer, or you don't
harmony stuff? Yeah.
You don't learn that, right? It just is part of what you can do.
You can't. I mean, you can learn it. I never took voice lessons, or the most I ever did were piano lessons. But I know harmony from, like, I can go and plunk out my part on a piano. I can't play the piano to save my life, but I can plunk out my parts. Or you can just hear it. If you know the harmony, you can just hear it.
You can hear it. Yeah. See, that's a gift I don't have. I don't have that. So it's to me, it's just incredible.
It's a mystery.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. It's amazing. So I was going to make one other little comment and then kind of ask you a question at the end. I think part of the reason that Phil very seamlessly made the transition to singer in Genesis, right, in 1975, was because he was a backing singer, just like you, right? He was a backing singer in Genesis while he drummed, and you could actually hear his voice sometimes more than you can hear Peter. I've heard Peter actually interviewed about this. It has to do with I think the tone. Peter's tone tends to be, I guess, somewhat lower, and the higher tone of Phil's voice, especially. And there's a song called "I Know What I Like," and you almost hear Phil more. And
really?
I think they twinned vocals there. And I guess the point I was going to make is, to me, Phil was this world-class drummer, and then Genesis said, "Come sing for us." Okay, I guess I'll be the singer. And he became one of the most famous singers in the world, for sure, with a tremendous voice. I mean, his voice is so unique. And, you hear him sing live, it sounds like the record. time after time after time. And it's, you had mentioned that earlier, and it's just amazing. And I just was wondering your impressions of Phil as a singer. And I know that's
Well,
a broad question, but
no, no, it's very simple. Phil is not a drummer who sings. Phil is a drummer. Phil is a singer equally. He's not a drummer that sings.
right.
He's a singer.
He'll tell
He's
you
a drummer.
he'll tell you
We were like, mm-hmm.
yeah, sure, okay.
Phil is not a drummer who sings. Phil is a drummer and Phil is a singer. Phil
Yeah.
can sing.
He sings beautifully. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, seems to have perfect pitch. Seems to, I mean, it's a
He's
huge,
got it's a gift. It's a gift. And yeah, he may downplay his singing, but no, Phil's a singer. He's a singer and he's a drummer. He's not a singer who plays the drums. He's not a drummer who sings. He's equally.
so this next question may be a moot question, but I'm going to ask it. I mean, he's clearly, he's a multi-instrumentalist. You say you can't play the piano. He plays the piano.
I know.
Thing, but like, I don't think he plays guitar much, but I mean, he has instinctive rhythm, innate harmony, like I said, seemingly perfect pitch. What impresses you most about his many musical gifts? If is there something that you saw, that's a harder question, I know.
I don't know. I mean, it's his work ethic is crazy good.
Mhm.
And he doesn't do anything where it's half-assed. He commits.
Mhm.
So but I don't know what to say because he's just, they don't make him like that anyway. I mean,
So true. That's actually a really good answer. It's so
they
true.
don't,
It's, yeah, well, and that speaks volumes about why I think it's such an egregious oversight that he's not, not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for his work as a solo artist. But I don't normally talk about that during the interview, so I'll get to it at the end. But thank you. I mean, that's a hard question because I mean, yeah. Okay, so here's questions that I ask everybody. Everybody gets these questions. So
okay.
okay, what is your favorite Phil Collins solo song, just in general, if you have one or two?
I have a million. I
Okay.
I was a Phil Collins fan before I got to work with him. But I think it has to be Another Day in Paradise, which is probably why I had that reaction when it started in rehearsal and I got emotional. It's like, oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. I don't know that I have a favorite. I don't know. I have a favorite live performance.
Mhm.
1982 Perkins Palace. I Don't Care Anymore. If you've never seen
Oh, really?
it, Google it.
Okay.
It opens the show for his 1982 tour. And I know he's a great actor. He's a gifted actor. And I think he could have done so much more in acting. But I'm telling you, if I ever have a chance to interview him, I doubt I will, but I would ask him if he remembers that performance. And I think the emotion that he's exuding, it's real, because it wasn't very long after that first breakup of his. And boy, that if you've never watched it, go watch it when we're done. It is
Yeah.
so good.
I have to say though, it was really, and I can't remember if it was Montreux, where it was the first time that he played the piano, because he didn't play the piano on the tour. But when we played Montreux, because smaller stage and we didn't have our big thing, so there was none of the running up and down stairs and all that.
Right?
But there was one moment when he played. Okay, I'm having a brain freeze. Was it Montreux or was it? No, it was not Montreux.
Royal Albert Hall?
No, this was after the tour was over. This was
Oh.
after the first leg of the farewell tour was over, and we had this one benefit kind of a thing that we did in Las Vegas.
Oh.
And we were in this ballroom, and I remember he played it, and ever since then I've seen it since, but he played, I'm having a brain freeze. I can feel it coming in the air of the night. Hello. He
Yeah.
played that on piano and sang it. And
Yes.
it's beautiful.
Isn't it? I love the part.
That version, it's so beautiful.
Well, when you approach the drum break and then it doesn't happen and it's silence and then it comes back. And Brad Cole and I talked about this, and Brad said Phil's genius is that it comes back softer. And then you just, oh, yeah, fantastic. Beautiful.
Yeah.
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 You're so lucky you got to see that live,
I
Brad.
know.
Oh, amazing.
I have video somewhere. I can't find it because I took video of it
I'm
from
gonna, I'm telling
backstage,
you,
from
I'm
South
getting
Rock side.
I'm
Huh?
getting you in my pool and we're gonna watch. Oh my God. So, okay. Favorite Phil Collins song to perform. I don't know if that's any different. Maybe still it's Another Day in
No, there's
Paradise.
different. No, there's different ones. You know, that's hard. But I still love Susudio. I love Easy Lover because we're doing the kicks and things. You know, there's funny things that go along with all of that stuff.
Yes.
You know, the shenanigans that went on during Wear My Hat. but I just because his catalog, he's not a one-hit wonder. He has all these beautiful lyrics and all these beautiful melodies and chords and things you like to sing, and so it's hard to just pick, you know, one thing. But we used to have a blast during Susudio and just different things, you know.
I liked how you, when you guys opened with Something Happened on the Way to Heaven.
I love that song.
So fun, like the horns and the excitement. I always thought that would be fun for the group to perform together. You know?
Yeah.
Neat. Brad Cole shared with me, there's a song by Vera Lynn that they performed at like the first 7 shows on the first leg of the Not Dead Yet tour. And If You Love Me, You Really Love Me. And I had never heard it before. And my British friends are like so upset that I didn't know who Vera Lynn was. You know, I didn't know, but she's something in England, and I'm gonna probably get roasted. But again, that's a nice one to Google too.
Okay.
Brad really enjoyed it. You know, he was telling me that it was a time that he and Phil were just together on stage and how special that was for him.
Nice.
You know, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful song.
I'll have to look for that.
Yeah, I have it on my page, on my page, so it's on there. Okay, did you ever see Phil play with Genesis? That's always a fun question.
Yes, it was the reunion tour.
Cool. Where'd you see him?
Because after there was a perk after doing the farewell tour. Phil let us all come to the Hollywood Bowl.
Nice. You had that show, the 2007. Were you at the rained out one?
I was in the rain in that box seat, having a great time, singing along. We were stoked. Lily Collins was sitting right in the box next to us, and we're all just like wet.
Oh my God. How fun, right? You'll never forget that.
No, never. Never.
That was the show. Was that the last one, or did they play one the next night too?
I think they were supposed to do one the next night, and I think ours was the only one that got rained out. I think.
Because
it was torrential.
That's what I heard, that it was
really torrential. At one point I was looking at the keyboard, is going, dude, you're gonna get electrocuted.
I've seen every documentary that there has ever been about Genesis and Phil, and in multiple documentaries, Phil's constantly complaining about Genesis open air shows that, you know, that it always rains and it's really, you know, sucks.
Well, it did that day.
Yeah. But those Hollywood Bowl shows, the very last one, so it would have been probably, I guess, the next night, is what Phil, they talk about it. Phil and Mike and Tony all talk about it, that they knew he was done. Of course, he wasn't. We came to find out because he did this most recent tour, but he had said, you know, I love you, Tony. I love you, Mike. And that was his way of saying, I'm done.
I'm done.
Anymore. So it's a neat story, but that's cool.
Oh,
so I have heard that Tony Smith and Phil, I think combined, Hit and Run, do really neat gifts for you guys. If you are willing to share, you don't have to. Was there something that you received as a gift for having been on tour that you really thought was cool?
Oh, my favorite thing is the music box.
I was hoping you'd say that because I like think that's the coolest thing too. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really sweet. It, yeah.
It
It's
plays Take Me Home.
It plays
Right?
Take Me Home. It's really pretty. It's Phil's handwriting engraved in a little wooden, it looks like a little wooden box. And you just lift the little lid and
Ah,
yeah, it's really sweet.
oh, what about, I have a collection of, I probably, everything that, Phil's probably signed 1 million autographs. I probably have 500,000 of them in my home. I'm not kidding. But I do have a lot, and certain things I cherish. People are going to get tired of me saying this, but I have his tambourine from the last show. He gave it to me
Oh,
from the stage. And I found out from Brad Marsh.
which tour?
This last Genesis tour.
Oh, nice.
On the last show, March 26th, I was there and I was in the front row center, and anyway, Brad Marsh said he's never done it before. And, tour security, Andy's come running over, and he's never given somebody something before. And I asked him for it, but
That's awesome.
so I have all of these things that I cherish, Did you have anything? Did he ever write a note? Do you have something that he signed? Do you have anything like that?
Because whenever I always say this, even when I'm on set doing a TV or any of that stuff, I never get that kind of stuff because I'm at work. You know what I mean? But I have there's nice little notes and things like when we did the DVD, when we shot the DVD in Paris and stuff, and you get back to your room and there's this lovely thing with a lovely note, and that's the kind of stuff I keep. It's a really lovely thing. I have a pair of his sticks. I have a pair of Chester's sticks.
Nice.
And and plus we got this when Going Back came out, we have it has the LP, it has the vinyl, and then it came because they sent it to us with a little note from Phil saying, hey, look here's our little thing. And it came with this little box that's about this big enough for little 45s. So all the songs that are on the Going Back record are in this little thing with a handle, little 45 holder. All those are on 45s in this little box.
Now I have that, but I don't have probably the one you have. I have the retail one, and they only made like 400 of them for retail, and I have one.
There you go.
You have one, doesn't have a handle. Yours is the real deal.
It's got cool. It's what little 45s. But I remember when I was a kid, people used to carry their 45s in them if they were going to a party or whatever. And it's like maybe just this thick, and it's got a little handle, a little metal thing that flips up, and the lid flips open.
That is the coolest thing ever. Oh my god, yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
I love it. See, you have cool. That's neat. I do love that. So, okay. How about, can you possibly identify a favorite memory of having worked with Bill? Is that possible? I mean, there's probably so many.
There's just a bunch, because, there's you just have little mental notes of things. And I had my camera the entire time, no matter where I was. And so I have most of these photos nobody will ever see, because they're like family photos. And like once in a while, maybe later, because it'll be 20 years soon, which I cannot believe that. Like there's some that I've given to the band and stuff. Because when I say I had my camera everywhere, I had my camera everywhere, even on stage not during the show, but for sound check and those kinds of things. So I got some inside stuff, but not, nothing racy or anything like that, but just family photos.
Yeah, that's neat. No, that's cool. That's cool. Maybe someday you'll be able to put a collection together and share them with the fans, if you got permission and whatever, and those things that would be cool.
And also too, I know what to share and what not to. So it's kind of like, like when Nicholas was around, I sent those pictures to Phil, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But that stuff I keep specifically for
for you guys. Right. That's special, and not for the fans. That's for
just being respectful,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's so true and so nice. So what's your oh, before I ask you this, I want to know about Las Vegas in October of 2019. I would
Ah,
like for you to share the prayer circle story if
ah.
you're willing to. You could do it without crying,
Oh
or you can cry.
yeah. No, it was funny because I was able to go to the very last show in Vegas, and which I thought it was such a great show. Oh my God. I
Oh,
laughed, I cried, I all of that.
yeah.
But I got to go see everybody before the show backstage. And before then, the last time I saw him was in 2010. Yeah,
Wow.
2010. And so got to see everybody, we visited for a while, and it was just great to see him, and we just stood there and yacked, and then got to say hi to everybody in passing. That's the last time I saw Munchie Brad. um
Everyone calls him that. I oddly call him Brad. It's the weirdest. I consider him a friend now. He's the best. Yeah.
and so I got to see everybody, and it was really sweet. And so as I'm talking to Phil, and I was like, okay, you guys I'm gonna let you guys go do your thing, blah blah blah. And he looks at me and he goes, well, you can come to the huddle, and I was like, are you sure, really? Because as long as I had been doing anything, when we got ready to do the huddle, there was nobody else, even if it was, somebody that we knew. But I was like, this is really sweet.
Oh,
Further, validating the family thing. So it's like, so I walk into the huddle, and I think George Shelby looks at me and he goes, okay, because he was like, I'm gonna cry now.
that's so cool. Aw, thank you for sharing that.
That's
That's really
really sweet.
cool. What a neat thing for you. That's really, really
And
cool.
because it was the last show of that tour,
Yeah.
so it's like,
It may have been his last solo performance ever. I mean, that's pretty
yeah,
intense,
yeah.
I hope not, but it could have been.
And hope maybe he'll get another bug up his butt and want to go and do something, but
We only
it's
hope so.
always welcome. Yeah.
Oh, oh yeah. And
Oh,
everybody I've talked to, anytime Phil calls, I'm there, you know. Heck
yeah.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
hey, okay, what time? When?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
Exactly.
these are kind of those hard questions to answer. So there's going to be two of them and they're similar. What's the best thing about Phil Collins, the performer? And it could be anything. I know it's ridiculous. That's a hard question.
All I can say is that he knows what he's doing. He doesn't expect you to do any more than he wants it right. And he puts it out there first. He doesn't ask anything of you that he's not willing to do himself.
That's right. And for me, the best thing about him as a performer, I think, is he's like a multi-disciplined, because I'm sure, I mean, I'm not saying he's not being genuine, he is, but he's an actor, he's a singer, he could dance. I've seen them, I've seen the tap dance. I mean, it's just like that guy, he's just all around just spectacular. And I think he probably is, probably is a good person. He seems like he's, what you see is what you get. And that comes out. So as the performer, so here's the other question. What's the best thing about Phil Collins, the human being, that you experience? And you don't have to share if it's too private.
No, it's fine. No, he's just, it's that thing of the reason why people say if Phil calls, they go, is because you're taken care of. And I'm not talking about being catered to. I'm just saying you feel safe. You're going to all these different places, and you need to know that the people that have brought you there are going to protect you, and you feel safe, and it's exciting. It's all those wonderful things. And I mean, that icon is a human being. I got really sick the first month of the Going Back tour. Wait, was it Going Back? No, it wasn't the Going Back tour. It was the second leg of the first farewell tour in 2005. I either got something during lunch and got food poisoning or something, but whatever it was, it hung on for a month.
Oh, yikes.
And when I say that I was sick. And so I would get on the plane and just kick my seat back and lay down. I mean, that's all I could do because I was like nauseous for a month. And Phil would always get on the plane last, like we'd all get on and have lunch or whatever. And he would come on when we got ready to leave. And I was in the back with Ronnie Carroll was across the way and I was on one side. And Phil would make his way back there to check on me.
Aw.
And I'm like, is he like still not? I'm like, I
Aw.
mean, that's all I could muster. But I would last through a show, but they actually care. That whole, it trickles down and everybody takes care of us.
So nice.
We all feel very safe.
Yeah.
So it's
especially in some of those countries on that tour where there's a documentary about that tour and I have a really hard time watching it. It's really intense and it's kind of, I mean,
is it the one? It's the one that's with that's on the Going Back disc, right?
I don't know. I can't. It's called The Long Good Night.
Yeah.
That's this documentary. First of all, because Tony Smith is really mad in there, and I would never want him mad at me. But
I'll never forget that day.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, that guy was like an idiot, and like they didn't have catering for you guys and stuff. That documentary is crazy.
Well, here's the thing. The reason why that little section is the crew is amazing.
Yes.
They're just, I don't know how they do it. And whenever I would ask anybody, I'd say, gosh, you guys, by the time you guys are still packing, taking it down, putting it back up, and we're back at the hotel having drinks and 99% of them will always say, the minute you say, God, I don't know how you do it, they always answer back, it's what I do.
Yeah. That's who they
what
are.
I do.
Yeah. And they love Phil and they love their jobs and stuff. But so yeah, if they're not getting fed, people are going to be pissed, and that's a crazy documentary. But the cities that you guys travel to, some of them I could see where you feeling safe was important because it's a little scary.
It's a little interesting. But the places that you would think the places that you would think would be the scariest weren't.
Right, because you don't know. You have this perception and then you get there and it's not what you think, but then maybe that other place might be weird that you didn't expect to be. So but you guys went everywhere on that tour. That was nutty.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a part where they were talking about you had to move equipment through Cyprus or something to get to because you couldn't go, and like just crazy stuff, but it meant something to Phil to bring the show to those people who had never seen him, and that's to me so heartwarming. That he did that, and I think he hurt himself on that tour, and he was sick at one point,
There was, because I remember the first leg. Oh yeah, that's right. He did get sick there. Yeah. On that leg, because there was also that one when we had to cancel Prague and go back to Prague at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think he hurt his knee on that tour too. I don't remember.
Oh, that was not. Yeah, that was the second leg when we were going to all the places he hadn't been. Yeah.
Right. It's so funny because he's super young. I mean, I don't know how old he was then, but probably like 52 or something, or 50. And he's like, "Oh, I'm getting old." I'm like, please,
And now that's almost 20 years ago. Yikes.
Right.
That's so crazy.
So crazy. So, okay. So I most people that I have talked with, said they don't keep in super close touch. I mean, that they know that Phil's available if they needed him, but they don't necessarily keep in super close touch. Any chance you guys stay in touch?
Just, like once in a while, a note or a Christmas card. But no, we don't braid each other's hair. I mean, because it's that thing of, I knew that I could see him, he'll make time for you.
That's right. And that's
what I mean.
Yeah, which is nice.
But I don't like call him or anything like that. Yeah, no.
I wouldn't expect you to. I mean, so Connie, before we say goodbye, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you thought I might, or that I should have, or anything you want to ask me or say, anything we missed?
Not that I can think of. I mean, because it's such a big experience when you've when you work with somebody like that, especially somebody of his caliber who has, you know, provided the soundtrack for a lot of lives.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just happy that I got a chance to, you know, come and play for a minute and get to know some really great people. I mean, I've made lifelong friends
Yeah.
just from that one job.
Yeah, that's pretty special. I'm
Mhm.
glad you came to play too. I really am. Yeah, it's really nice. So my last question for you is, and it's sort of, I just state why I'm doing this, and that is I started the campaign that I'm doing, the Get Phil Voted In campaign, to encourage the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to nominate and ultimately induct Phil for his work, his significant contribution really to music as a solo artist, and it is significant. So what do you think, if you can say, and again, this is a hard question, what his most significant contribution to music is as a solo artist, if you can think of something?
I mean, I think he's provided a soundtrack. I mean, he's not that I was knowing that I was going to do this with you. I mean, I listen to him anyway, but I've specifically just put on Spotify and just let it play. And you forget how many, one after the other pops up. And you're like, oh my God, I forgot about, there's so many. And you kind of go, when did he have time to, how do you,
Yeah.
that's a lot of hit records. And that's just counting the hit records. Then
Right.
you just let it play the, you know, the B-sides and all this other stuff. And you're just like, look at this catalog.
It's incredible. I was listening to Face Value not too long ago, and just some of the songs on there. The one that he and Nick played, why can't I think, if leaving me is easy, or is that it? The putting the pieces back together again. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? He and Nick played it on the solo tour, and
Yeah.
and you know, you forget about those gems, those beautiful songs. There's a song that did not appear on No Jacket Required until the CD, I think, came out or something.
Mhm.
And you know, I'm like you, my brain goes soft when you try to remember it. You said hello as we turn the
Oh, yeah. I
hello
know.
goodbye. Anyway, songs like that didn't even make the first record. He didn't even think it was good enough to go on the record. And Against All Odds, he didn't put on. I mean, like, it's crazy. Like, how does
I
this
mean, the
work?
throwaways are hits.
I know. I did this post. I do these posts called "Did You Know," and they exemplify parts of his career that showcase why he should be, you know, included in the Hall of
Mhm.
Fame. And I did one on No Jacket Required, and it was like 5 million paragraphs because there's so much. But in the year that No Jacket Required was released and then he toured, he also had Separate Lives, which I think won an Oscar or something. It was
Yeah.
it's just all these songs that weren't even on the record. It was crazy. Yeah, just nutty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to just say thank you because we spent
Of
so much
course.
time. Truly from the bottom of my heart, I really am so grateful that you said yes, and I wish you the very best with your new film
Oh,
project. And I hope that you will definitely promise to tell me all about it, like
of
when you
course.
you know, and we'll continue. This fan community that we have is really special, and we'll continue to support your projects, you know, and I hope that I get to stop this campaign soon, and meaning that I hope that they hear
That
me.
they say yes.
And I understand that it's very political and all that stuff, but anyway, even if he does get nominated, I think I'll keep the page and still continue to connect with all of the great people and
Nice.
support you and Leland and so many. I wanted to encourage everybody to adopt an animal
Yay.
in his honor, and also encourage people to listen to your beautiful single "This Day," gorgeous song that inspired me. And I know it's on Apple Music and Spotify and other music sites. And visit
Yeah.
it's ConnieJackson.com, I think, your
Yep.
website. Yeah. So
That's an easy. Oh, hold on. My dog's about to knock everything down.
see,
Hold on.
can you see the puppy?
Come here. This is one of them. Hold on.
Hello.
This is the Chihuahua. This is Lucy. Hold on. Lucy's a big chub girl.
Hi, girl. Look at how pretty she is.
Ooh, silly.
Hi, Lucy. You're a movie star, Lucy. Look at you.
She's
so
been
great.
She's been begging since she's been out here.
She's so cute. Oh my God, they've been so good. They haven't barked or anything.
I know, that's really unusual. Usually I've had to stop that. But Buffy, I can see Buffy's over there knocked out on the floor. So
That's so great. I love it. Safe travels. I know you're flying, but I think the end of the week. And thank you so much. I'll stay in touch with you and look forward to lots more to come and the record and all that stuff.
and
So,
thank you for doing this. I think he get Phil in, vote Phil in.
yes, we can do it. We can do it. So yeah, I'm going to send you a hat. So we got,
You know me, I'll take pictures in it.
I know the guys are laying down the gauntlet. Brad Cole just sent me one, and boy, I'm telling you, he looks awfully handsome. So
All right.
thanks, Connie. I'll sign off now. Safe travels, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Tracy.
Bye, Connie.
Bye.
Oh, I love it. Okay. I always hate ending these things. Okay.
I bet, right?
Girl, talk to you soon.
Okie dokie.
Bye, Connie.
Bye.